received special training via a secret organization working under the direct control of the president. I was to assume the responsibility of protecting the new president's family.
For the longest time, Resident Evil 4 was my favorite game of all time. It was the game I would come back to the most. And when RE4 Remake got announced, I was hyped. It was the first and only time for that matter that I was eagerly waiting for one of my most beloved games get a complete reimagining. And with that anticipation came fear that I might see something I love be ruined. And then the time came where I got to play it for the first time. Since then, I haven't been able to go back. Here's why. Now, before you click off the video, I'd like to emphasize that the original is still an incredible game that has held up in quality for over 20 years. It's the game that spawned the third-person formula in video games. But there are a few key aspects, mainly in gameplay, that makes the experience worse than the remake. My first point is that Resident Evil 4 OG is too much of an exploitable game. Let me explain. In OG, the way the controls work is wherever Leon is facing is the only path he can run to. If you want to change directions, you must turn Leon, which the camera will then simultaneously turn also. The limited movement of your character is very much considered in the game design. Ganados will almost always run up to you directly into your lane of fire and even sometimes slow walk towards you if they get closer. Except for some cases like Dr. Salvador, who will often strafe to the side to try to close the gap faster, all the while throw you off while you try to aim. But the enemy behavior isn't the issue here. The problem is how the game tries to compensate the limited movement of Leon with overpowered offensive options. Let's throw the obvious out of the way. Leon's kick is ridiculous. By shooting one bullet at a Ganado's head, you can pull off a kick that can knock away 10 of them. It's so cheap and exploitable. And the shotgun spread is also absurd, as it can hit an entire group with a single shell. Now, that's a whole different story in Resident Evil 4 Remake. In Remake, they switched the tank controls for a more modern control system, so Leon can move in any direction independently from the camera's lane of sight, which allows for the Ganados to be much more aggressive this time around. There's a lot more of them now, and they often try to flank you. They also run up to you a lot quicker and a lot more often, which encourages you to use the parry system with your knife, which is a new addition to the remake. And the downside from using your knives is that they can also break. So it becomes a tool that you might want to hold on to as much as possible, and becomes another aspect to think about in resource management. And that brings me to my second issue with the original Resident Evil 4. It just gives you too many resources. I mean, look at my inventory by the time I enter the cabin in the OG compared to the remake. Mind you, both playthroughs are in the game's hardest difficulties. While the original is still very good, it just strafed away too much from the identity of the original trilogy. The remake, however, does a much better job at challenging the player and making RE4 feel more like a Resident Evil game. They faithfully reimagined the OG and updated it with more survival horror elements. Exploration also has a bigger focus this time. The merchant now provides quests that offer a new currency that can unlock valuable items. Quests range from finding an item that you can sell to the merchant to fighting a mini-boss. This encourages you to go out of your way to go back to previously discovered areas after finding a key item. So, there's also backtracking that comes back in the remake to honor the OG trilogy. But there are things that the original does better than the remake. For example, the tightness of the controls in the OG are unmatched to this day. Leon, despite his limited movement capabilities, feels amazing to control. He's more responsive as a result, and feels easier to control here than in the remake in some cases. In the reimagining, the way Leon reacts to external actions can seem overtuned at times. Leon will straight up get stunned from the smallest things, like an enemy passing him by, which then exposes him from getting hit with more combos and potentially get killed by not being able to escape the sunlock. There are some cut content that I missed from the original as well, like the U3 boss fight that was instead added in the Separate Ways DLC. But other than that, I'm grateful that the parts that were great from its predecessor have been expanded, like the double Garrador room. Fights are just even crazier in the remake. The cabin fight, the opening village fight, and Wrecking Ball room are nutty. Although, giving credit where credit is due, Waterhall was better in 2004 than it is now. Although the original still holds a special place in my heart, there are just balance issues that just don't sit right with me anymore. And I think the remake does a better job at making you more accountable for your decisions. But that's all I got for today. See you guys later.